Okay, so today we are starting our February Feather Fridays, and I thought that first I'd share with you, this is a printout that I give in my feather classes. It just has a couple of different spines. So we're going to use this for our different feathers, and I have posted this on my website for you so that you can download it. I actually formatted it so you can print it off on regular 8.5 by 11 sheets. So we're going to get started, and the first feather that we're going to do is the regular long arm feather. And what I'm doing is I'm just using some tracing paper on top so that way I don't have to keep printing off the spines. The long arm feather, I always like to say, is like a half of a heart, and the shape is just that, a half of a heart. If we added the other half, there we go. Okay, so it's relatively easy. Some people make them long and skinny, okay, and other people tend to make them shorter and more of like the half of a heart. One of the things when you're doing feathers that's super important is knowing that you need to come into your spine at an appropriate angle. So if this is our spine, okay, what happens is I see quite often, I'll start off, okay, is that people end up getting flat and they start coming into their spine at more of a 90-degree angle, okay, and then you start getting something that looks more like scallops. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are working to come in at a steeper angle, okay, and that'll allow your feathers to lay really nice. Okay, the other thing I wanted to talk about is that, and you'll hear me probably say it on all of the different feathers, it's really important that you can do them going in all different directions. And this applies whether you're on a domestic machine or a long arm. You want to practice your feathers in different directions. So we're going to start here with just our regular curved spine. And I'm going to make a guideline that I want my feathers to come out to. Okay, you can fill the space if you want, and I would suggest practicing both ways, but we're just going to come out to that guideline. And I have found it truly helps if you don't have a death grip on your writing utensil, and that you just let your hand glide over the paper. Okay, I can't talk and draw at the same time, so we're going to do the other side, and I'm going to bring them out. Okay, one of the things I want to let you know, don't try and get all of your feathers to look exactly the same. I find that the varying shapes of feathers is what creates interest in your quilting. Okay, so make sure that you're not too caught up on trying to get them all to be the same. Alrighty, so we're going to pull in another sheet of tracing paper. We're going to work on our circled wreath. One of the things I like to tell people is that even if you don't enjoy template work, you should have a set of circles in your studio for marking your spines and whatnot, okay? Makes it much easier. So we're going to start, and we're going to do the outer circle first, okay? And it is really important that you get that angle correct, because if I start off like this, okay, as I come around, okay, I'm going to have that funny shape there, okay? So we got to make sure that that first plume is angled correctly. And as you can tell, I think I need a little practice on these feathers. Okay, and then we're going to move to the inside. Same thing, you got to get that first plume going, okay? And there's the feathered wreath. Also, I tend to go clockwise. You can go counterclockwise. There's no rules when you're doing feathers, and you're going to end up finding your own style. Okay. Now, I also always like to do a fun shape. Okay. So we're going to start here, and we're going to do the outer part first, and then we'll come back and we'll do the inside. In feathers, it's all about practice. It doesn't happen overnight. Okay, I'm going to come and do the inside. Now you can make your feathers disappear, okay? See, that plume is going to fall behind. So instead of making little itty bitty ones, just have those do a partial feather there. Okay, I'm going to move on, and we're going to do a straight. We'll just pretend that that's a sashing there. Okay, and we're going to do one side and then the other, and then I'm going to show you a different little trick. So we're going to. Now you can leave space in between your feathers, or you can backtrack over. The backtracking does take some practice. So when I do these feathers, I tend to leave some space there. And then we'll come to the other side. One of the things I want to talk about is I am not successful, okay, at coming back down the other way. So we'll give it a try. My feathers tend to look a little different. They don't look too bad. Okay. Not too bad. So don't feel like you have to go up one side and down the other. You can always go up one side, travel back down your spine, and then go up. Okay? Or you can bounce back and forth from side to side. Gives a little bit of a different look. Oh, that was a big one. Okay. So the best thing to do is just really doodle. As you're on the phone, you should be doodling and making fun shapes. Okay? So that is the long arm feather. Okay, so here we go. We are going to stitch this on the domestic machine. Again, I wouldn't say that I am proficient at quilting on a domestic machine, so bear with me. I'm borrowing, or actually my friend Terry Lucas gave me these bat scooters to try, so I'm going to give those a try. I have my feed dogs lowered, and we are just going to hope for the best. So I'm going to Okay, so there is my feather. Okay, so yeah, I think I might need a little bit of practice. So here we're going to move on to the wreath, and I'm going to start with the outside. I've brought my bobbin thread up. Oops. And grab my bat scooter. This is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for me, so let's get started. I'm going to try not to turn it. I'm going to try and do it so that I can quilt my feathers in all different directions. But my instinct is to want to turn the quilt. Oh my. there's my wreath. You can definitely use a little work. So you can see this is where I started, and it's what I was talking about. This angle, I came up too steep. I needed to come out and over. Now I think I did the inside one pretty good. So I'm all set. I'm going to do my straight border. And since I'm not super proficient on this, I am not going to bounce side to side. I'm going to do one side and then I'm going to do the other. And I know my limitations on this one, but maybe as I get better, I'll practice that. Okay, and there is my straight. They're getting better, getting better. Again, practice, practice, practice. I'm proficient with these on the long arm, but again, the domestic is a challenge for me. So we're going to move on over to our question mark shape here. And what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to actually stitch down the spine first, just for something different. Okay, pull up my bobbin thread. If this was a real quilt, I would be securing those threads. But this is challenging enough for me, so I'm not going to push my luck. And there's my my question mark. So again, like I told you when we were drawing, it's all about practicing. Practice, practice, practice. Okay, so here we are in the long arm. And I'm going to do our feathers. I'm just pulling up my thread. And I do have the stitch regulator on. I'm not coming all the way to my spine. It's not necessary. You can if you want. Much more proficient at the long arm feathers. Okay, so we're moving on to our wreath, and like I said, I'll do the outside first and then I'll go back and do the inside. And typically I do stitch the spine first. So I would grab my template that corresponded with the circle and I would stitch around that. But for right now, we're just going to stitch. So we're just going to pretend that we've stitched that spine in. And I'm not quite sure why. I just typically start over at 9 o'clock. And there is my feathered wreath. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do our straight spine here. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up one side, come down the spine, and then I'll go up the other side. And there's my straight. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch our fun question mark shape. And don't judge me. I really struggle following a line, so we'll just and there is my fun question mark shape.